Thunder Bay and welcome to Giant Dreams Under Construction, the show that focuses on positive people in our community working towards building their dreams. My name is Kateri and I have two guests today. One is a local entrepreneur and a local musician, Adam Winters. Thank you for joining us. And our other guest is Joyce Hunter, who will be with us a little bit later. So thank you, Adam, for taking the time away from the job site to come and speak with us. Now, you're a musician, you used to work at Bombardier, and then you decided to take the plunge recently and start your own business. Now, how do you go from being musician, laborer to, that's it, I want to be king of my own castle, my own garden?
Just working for yourself, period. Just working for someone else. They're always making the money, and you know that you can do that too, so you just jump ship and hope for the best and go for it and want to make that money too.
So you're in the transition still, and like, okay, so you are a drywaller, you're a carpenter, but was there fear? Like what?
Oh, there's tons of fear. There's been fear the last 15, 20 years of my life. I've been doing the same thing, you know what I mean? So there's always a fear of not being able to make it, or not being able to do what you want to do, or is it really gonna pan out for you, right? You know? Lots of stuff has happened to me in the last 6 months that have set me back lots, but I still keep striving to try and do more, right? So.
Well, you don't give up. That's the biggest thing. You have children too that look up to you while you're doing all this.
Well, they all do.
Yeah, and
you know.
So, and you also play music. You have a local band, so you've played at places like, what is it, the Crocs and the Wayland, and what kind of music do you play? Like, how are you all in these different things?
Well, I mean, music saved my life when I was younger. I was always getting into crap and whatever else, so I went and jumped into the music thing with my dad, because I mean, that's always been a part of our family, and I did that for 15 years, and then working, obviously, skilled trades and stuff in between, trying to make extra money, right? Yeah. So I mean, it all just kind of filters into itself of what you try to do in life to try and make it better, right?
And what, because before you would just go and sing karaoke, I've known you for a very long time, but now you actually have gigs and you go up on stage and you play. Is that scarier than like trying to price a job, or like trying to obtain a contract under your own company?
I think it's two different things. I mean, going on stage, I still get nervous, especially doing the singing thing on my own rather than backing someone up and playing bass, you know what I mean? So it's totally different. Like, I mean, the contractor thing, going to someone's house and, you know, you don't know them and how you're going to present yourself and everything else, I think that's a little bit easier, knowing that where I came from, of being a musician and being in the club scene, of people being around you, and, you know, you learn different people, you know, different things about people, so that helps out in a lot of aspects of trying to meet someone or whatever, right? But
so you find that like the stage and all that has made being an entrepreneur a little easier, or are they going to go? Are they going hand in hand now?
I think they're going hand in hand too. But I mean, it's easier to be personable with someone when you have that personal aspect of being in a club. You know what I mean? With different people coming up to you saying, "Hey, do you know you play in the band?" or whatever, asking you questions. You know, it gives you that a little bit of. You have business in your blood too. What was your uncle, or was that your dad, that had the pizza place? Like, that was Papa Joe's Pizzeria, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like something that we all grew up with, and then how, like, I think early 20s, like I guess early 2000s was when it closed finally. But he ran it for decades, right?
Yeah, a few decades for sure. Yeah, he franchised it out into Fort Francis and into Atikokan, and then my uncle bought one of his other ones in Atikokan, and he started it up himself, and he closed it down. And just, I mean, all the bigger franchises started moving in, like Boston Pizza, Pizza Hut, and Little Caesars, and so I mean, it's hard to make a good product of what he had versus high demand, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that was a lot of the thing too. So.
Was he somebody that taught you different aspects of
For
business?
sure.
Or
well, I mean,
like,
before he started his business, I mean, he was a red seal carpenter too. So
really?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, I helped him out quite a bit or whatever when I moved back to Thunder Bay before his passing and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of my uncles, they're always into the trades of doing something, you know, either working on cars or working on their houses, or, you know.
And so you were born and raised here in Thunder Bay. You're a West Fort boy. Like,
Well, originally Noaloo boy, but I
really?
Yeah.
Okay. So your family, because I've always known your family to be like South End,
Oh, yeah.
South Core, West Fort area.
That's where I used to hang out all the time too. But I mean, I used to live in mostly Fort William for the most part. So.
And how
growing
old
up,
were you when you left Noaloo?
I think I was like 8 or 9.
Why have you chosen to, so musician, tradesperson, entrepreneur, why have you chosen to stay in Thunder Bay? What opportunities do you see here? And
I moved away when I was 15 to Winnipeg, lived there for 15 years, moved back here when I was 30, so I've been here for 11 years. But the reason why I moved back was because I wanted to move back to just the hometown of, I don't know, it's just like a calling, you know what I mean? I love
Yeah.
the bush, I love the lakes, I love the fishing, I love the recreation, the people. You know, I don't know, I find that there is a lot of work here. I mean, if you're looking for it, if you're not looking for it, I mean, you're not going to find anything, but you got to uncover a few rocks and see what you can do, right?
that's a good way to put it.
I mean, I like it here. I would rather live here than a big city any day in my life. It's too hectic. It takes an hour of your day just to get to work, an hour of your time to get home. You're here, you're 15 minutes from anything, you know what I mean?
You really are. You could
Kind
drive
of,
15
20
minutes
minutes.
drive across town. Yeah,
So,
really.
I mean, yeah.
And so did you, when you were in Winnipeg, were you pursuing music? Were you in trades, or like was
Well, I
that
was-
just kind of like a lost period?
Music,
Like,
music I did exclusively for 15 years, but then in between of, you know, playing the weekends, I still had the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, you know, the odd Saturday and whatever, so I worked odd jobs and stuff like Weenusk Courier Service, but I also worked for a guy named Al Grabinski out of Winnipeg, and he had a mortgage broker company, and he bought houses and turned them over, so we'd go in there and rip them apart and put them all back together and whatever else, right? So, I mean, just always looking for something else to do to make a little bit of extra money, right? So, just can't do one thing all the time, you get bored. I mean, that was a big thing with Bombardier. I was there for 5 years, but I mean, it was just like, you're doing the same monotonous thing all the time. You gotta jump out and do something different. And, you know, that's why I like to do different things, like different aspects. You just, if you're doing one thing, you get bored all the time, I find.
well, and everybody has different personalities, and that's the
True.
one thing too, where if you're an entrepreneur, you have to kind of be like, you have to be versatile in regards to the office, if like obviously in trades, at the job site, meeting clients, like,
Yeah, for sure.
but so you had your uncle, you have like your dad
Yeah.
is a super cool guy, and he's actually helping you pursue this dream of your own
He's
business
probably the next biggest supporter out of my wife, for sure, yeah. Yeah,
And-
he's helping me out quite a bit.
he's retired too, so
Retired, yeah.
so that's actually that's really cool that you have your close support system
Support
actually
system,
cheering you on, because a lot of times, you know, like I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs or lots of people in general kind of don't feel that they have that, but it's very clear with you and your family and your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Do your kids play music? Are your kids interested in trades?
Yeah, they're both interested in music. They both sing beautifully. I'm amazed that they took up what I do too, and not so much into the playing music part of it, but they're into the singing. And yeah, they both, I don't know, they're both into everything. My daughter's going to high school now, or I should say college, and taking mechanics.
That is cool.
So yeah, it's pretty outrageous. My youngest daughter doesn't know what she wants to do yet, but I'm sure she'll figure it out. She's still having fun being a teenager.
And then you have a son.
Yeah, I have my son too, and he's working now too. So he's taken upon himself to look for something to do.
Is he covered in mud also?
Not yet. I'm
He's-
trying to get him to go for it, but he doesn't want to get dirty quite yet. So
Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of doing
But-
drywall.
yeah. Oh, I know. Not many people are. but
Yeah, no,
I'm
it
not
takes a
gonna-
special person that.
I'm not going to push my kids into anything. I would rather them do what they want to do. You know what I mean? And then do the same thing, support them in what they want to do. So.
And is that how, like, what did your dad do? Is that how you were raised? Or
Yeah, he's always supported me in everything I wanted to do. But I mean, he's the one who actually brought me to Winnipeg and made me play music to get me out of crap, right? So inevitably, he just wants to, I don't know, everybody just wants to succeed, right? And he wants me to succeed, and he sees that in all his children. So I have my sisters and stuff like that, and he's totally supportive of them too. So
That's
he's
awesome.
Yeah, you know where he came from, right? So I mean, he wasn't the way he was back in the day, like, you know, now he's changed, right? So
Well, now he's grandpa.
his grandpa, he's got grandchildren and stuff, but I mean, everybody changes as you evolve and see stuff, right?
So now, what high school did you go to here?
I went to Northwood.
Oh.
Vocational.
Okay. So the current DFC school then.
Correct.
And what did you, like, what were your high school years like? Because you say you got
Horrible.
into poop, but horrible.
I never went to high school. I went to high school, but I didn't go to high school. I have 2 credits, I think. So, I mean, I made my life me, right? Because I always needed something, right? But everybody's always saying that you need something to fall back on, right? But I mean, inevitably, it's going to be yourself or what you fall back on and what you do, right?
I like the way you put that. I actually really like the way you put that.
Yes, you can go to school, but I mean, there are other things that you can do out of school if you really needed to. But I mean, that's only my thing, right? I didn't want to go to school. So I mean, my dad gave me different options of what I could do to get there, right?
But still being productive and proactive.
So I started playing music when I was 16 on stage, and then when I was home or whatever, I'd go help him or go help his buddy work here and there and do what you need to do, right? But I mean, you always got to do something. If you don't do anything, you're going to end up with nothing. So
you have some really good analogies and quotes, actually. And like normally I ask each guest if there's a message that they want to leave with the viewers, but you've actually you've stated quite a few really good quotes that I hope we like resonate with people. Like it's a good way to like good analogies.
I mean, you just got to keep your head up all the time, you know what I mean? You can always just mope around and think about things that are happening, right? I mean, I've had tons of stuff in the last 6 months. I could just go crazy, but I mean, you got to keep moving on and do what you want to do. I mean, reading stuff is reading stuff, but then reading those things and thinking about them and actually, you know, doing those things are.
So you know what? You're just like you're proving that it doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter your opportunities.
No.
It's your work ethic, it's your attitude, and it's just being persistent.
For sure.
And just like learning a new song on an instrument or trying to get like hit those notes, just keep trying, keep practicing.
I mean, nobody's perfect, right? I mean, it might take you 1 time, it might take you 10 times, it might take you 1,000 times.
But don't give up.
Well, don't give up, no. You can't give up, so.
Well, I love your attitude.
Thank you.
I love what you do. I'm happy to call you a friend, and
Happy to call you a friend too.
I want to thank you for taking the time away from the job site.
No problem, thank you.
I'm sure your dad's happy to be out there instead of mudding. But thank you so
100%.
much for coming, Adam.
For sure. Thank
And we will be right back. And we are back with Giant Dreams Under Construction. This is our second segment, and our second guest for today, Joyce Hunter. Welcome and thank you for coming. Now, you wear a lot of hats, and you're a very strong Cree woman. I wanted to call you just First Nation, but you're Cree.
Yes.
So you are from, I'm scared to say your First Nation name because of
I know, right?
how I just mispronounced it. So
Yes.
where are you exactly from?
I'm from Weenusk First Nation, and in Cree it means groundhog, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's on the Hudson Bay coast, and where I come from there are polar bears and beluga whales, and I have a necklace that I wear all the time. It's made out of bone and abalone shell. Abalone is the stuff that they use to make those smudging bowls.
Oh,
like it's built right into it, and I guess it's my way of staying connected to my roots, to where I'm from, because I'm from a community that is so small and so far away and so removed from civilization. And I grew up actually watching the news, and I used to sit there every night at 9 o'clock watching the National with my dad, back when Peter Mansbridge had like his full head of red hair and all of that. We only had 2 channels, so we had CBC and TVO.
That was like my childhood with my grandpa. Yeah.
Really?
So what made you leave your community and come here?
That's kind of a long, winding story, but basically I studied journalism at Durham College in Southern Ontario, and I think all those nights spent with my father watching the news made me come to love the news and come to understand what was going on. But the other thing is, I think I was just a curious kid by nature because I used to love to read a lot. And my dad bought this huge set of encyclopedias when I was a kid, and he built a shelf just for them, and I used to sit there for hours and just read them and get my nerd on.
But now, like, when I hear you speak and like you discuss certain topics and you take on very, like you're a part of the Walking with Our Sisters.
Yeah.
You're doing. So what is the thing that you're doing regarding journalism right now?
Okay, so this actually, I worked. My first job was at a daily in Timmins, and when I was going to school, they taught us about different things, right? So they taught you how to cover the federal government, they taught the province, municipal issues, and how elections are run and how to cover them, like horse races. And then also the judicial system. So I covered court, city hall, all of those things when I started to work at a daily. And I remember the other thing that you should know is that there is a style guide. And when you go to journalism school, it is the Bible for all of the industry, right? And it's very, very important that you cover it. And there's a history and a reason for that, because at one time I think it was like in the 1800s, late 1800s, when people would go to a different community, the styles were different, the spellings for place names, like communities and things like that, were all different, right? So if you went from New Brunswick to Ontario to British Columbia, there was really no like collective way of covering things, right? And so it created confusion, and it was, well, generally annoying. And then so this guild was created, and it came to be called the Canadian Press. And so what they did was they streamlined how place names were covered and all of those, and even titles, right? So like lieutenant, governor, colonel, all of those things, right? So they standardized everything so that when you get off a plane, didn't matter anywhere in the country, and you picked up a newspaper, then all of the
there's a broad understanding,
right? And so there's consistency there too, right? But the other thing is they created different sections on how to cover specific beats, and they talked about libel law and media law and all of those things, right?
Yeah.
And they also covered Indigenous issues. At the time, they called us Aboriginals.
Yeah.
And like, there's always been a problem about like settler colonial governments coming in and then assigning us our identities and saying, you're First Nation, you're Métis, you're Inuit, you know? And then creating like a legal definition around who that is and who gets to be First Nation or Métis or Inuit status and non-status. Like they created all these categories for us under legislation, right? And then that was later enshrined in the Constitution Act of 1982, right? In Section 35, that says that Aboriginal people have treaty rights. What it doesn't do is define what those treaty rights are, right?
They also don't teach things like that
in school,
in elementary school. Or I actually have a history book, and it's I don't want to go negative with this, but
well, you have to tell the truth, right?
That's a good point. But okay, so you're using your journalism, your experiences and your knowledge, and you're like, so the water bottle here, that you're helping promote people and you're helping them tell the stories that they feel need to be told now.
Yeah.
So like can you explain
this Water is Life
and the event that you helped with to get this?
Yeah. Okay, so there's a Métis artist. Her name is Christy Belcourt, and she is actually engaged in a lot of projects, right? And one of them was Walking with Our Sisters. So I sit on the local collective Walking with Our Sisters in Thunder Bay, and I'm the treasurer, so I sign their checks.
That's the group that is standing up for the missing and murdered Indigenous women, right? So like you were talking about the moccasins. The moccasin tops.
Christy Belcourt had a dream, and her dream was that there was all these women who had died or who had gone missing, and their murders were unsolved. But in her dream, in her vision, they were all standing all in a row, all in a line, all in a circle, and there was many, many of them. And then in her dream, I believe they were wearing moccasins. And then when she came out of it, right, she was like, okay, so she felt that it was a calling that she needed to respond to, and then so she did a call out to the communities, to families who had experienced someone who had gone missing or was murdered in their family, and invited them to create a moccasin top, not the full moccasin, just the top where it's beaded, or
so
whatever.
like
There's
over
some
the
art.
toes.
Yeah, like that section right there. It's called a vamp moccasin top, right?
It's called a vamp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, vamp or moccasin top. And then so what a lot of people did was they sent them to us, to the national collective, because there's a national collective and then there's local chapters where Walking with Our Sisters has been, right? And then so from that perspective and that work that was done, people beaded, right? And like one particular story that I really like to tell is about this one woman whose sister was murdered. She was in an abusive relationship and she fled the relationship and she had nothing, and then so she ended up going into the sex trade because she had 7 children to fend for. And so after,
And
she
I
ended
don't
up,
mean to interrupt, but
yeah.
that's not just an Indigenous issue.
No, it's
that
a
is
Canadian-
that
Yeah.
is every
yeah,
culture.
everybody in the sex trade, right? But
The-
specifically,
Yeah, so-
like women statistically who are Indigenous are 7 times more likely to be victims of violence and domestic assault and all of those things, right? So part of the work that Walking with Our Sisters does is it talks about how Native women are devalued and dehumanized and are seen as being more disposable than that of the broader community, and that we need to raise it as an issue and challenge that, and do it in a good way, in a spirit of kindness, so that we can move together in a way that respects everyone, all of the community members, and values all of them equally, right? That is the message of Walking with Our Sisters. And so we do everything in ceremony and we do everything in a spirit of kindness and goodwill. And what we did was we locally here, before the inquiry was set to come, we asked people to invite us into their organizations. And so we went into jails, youth detention centers, we went to private and public organizations, the college, the universities, elementary schools, high schools, and we talked about all of these issues and how they affect us as Indigenous people, and just to show us our humanity. But then the other thing we did was we invited them to create little red dresses that they could bead on, because we wanted to transfer.
I've seen those.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We wanted to transfer like a love and appreciation of Indigenous craft work, while also teaching them how to do it, and then inviting them to give those back to Walking with Our Sisters. So then when the inquiry comes to the city, we can show the families who are going into the inquiry to tell their truths that the community does care about them and they have heard their story, and that we're behind them, that we care about them. And so like we felt that it was a very powerful message and a very powerful way to continue the conversation, because we did that after the moccasin tops left, after the art installation, because it was here for several weeks and it was voted was the most powerful installation that was hosted that year at the Thunder Bay Art Gallery, right? But the community also told us, don't stop talking about this story, right? It's important that we continue the conversation afterwards, and so that's how we were able to do it, right?
So this is like when I hear your story, and I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But this is your calling, like the stuff that you've learned, reading encyclopedias, doing like studying journalism.
Oh, but there's
and
more,
everything.
like in the context of the journalism story. Okay, so when I was 22 years old, I think I was, or maybe a little bit older, I read this section again in the Canadian Press Style Guide. Remember I was saying that they standardized it? Well, in one of the lines it said Native people do not pay taxes. And I was like, oh!
That is the biggest, that's
I know,
the biggest myth and misconception.
That's
yes.
right. And
Nor do we receive other people's tax money.
Yes.
So keep going.
Yeah, and then, okay, so then I called the desk editor for that section, and we went on this whole thing for like over an hour, and I explained that, well, statistically speaking, I think it's like 33% of Native people don't pay taxes, and they're on the reserve. And I work at the Daily Press in Timmins, and yes, I can assure you, I pay taxes. I pay taxes like right off of my checks.
Your property taxes.
I pay.
Everything, yeah.
Even if you pay rent, a portion of your rent money goes to pay taxes.
Yes.
Yeah, and then when you get your rent receipts at the end of the year, when you do your taxes, then yes, I mean, like, you do get a portion of it back, but you are still paying into it in some way, whatever, right?
And then same with treaty money, it's royalties.
Right.
So we keep going.
Okay, so then the next edition came out and said Native people sometimes do not pay taxes. And I was like, you're killing me. And then so for many, many years, like, it really bothered me. And then so I ended up co-writing a proposal with an organization called Journalists for Human Rights to transfer journalism. So, like, on the one side, they wanted to transfer journalism skills to Indigenous people in the remote north. I added a second portion that works with journalists about common pitfalls that they make in journalism. And so now more than 1,000 reporters in the mainstream have been taught, whether they go to Ryerson, Algonquin, Centennial College, or Metro News, TVO, different places like that. And so I got nominated for an Alumni of Distinction Award for doing that. It lives here in Ontario, but now it's moving to British Columbia. The goal is to take it clear across the country. I'm very proud of that because I would like to see the industry of journalism really be able to understand who we are as Indigenous people. The goal of this project is to teach people how to cover Indigenous issues so that we can have an informed discourse. You don't have to believe everything you see in the media, but it should be written fairly, accurately, and honestly. That's the point.
I wish I had an hour to hear everything.
Oh my God, you have no idea. It's a big project.
You know what? I always had a lot of respect for you, and I only had a glimpse of what you do. I think, like, we'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
I would love to speak with you again, though.
Yeah.
I'm sure the viewers would love to hear more. And thank you for doing what you do and for inspiring other people. And thank you for the beautiful earrings that you gifted me with today also.
I just wanted to say thank you because of the things that you do. You know, you amplify voices of Indigenous women, of women in general, and that's such an important thing to do.
Well, it's a good thing that there's a big group of us sisters that, you know, we meet by chance and then we just want to help. So thank you so much, Joyce. I love you. I love what you do. And
I love you. And I love what you do.
So thank you. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Giant Dreams Under Construction. And I hope you have a great, great day.
Thanks so much. You too.